Welcome. It is no accident that you have found your way to the Release the Genie podcast. What would you do with 3 wishes? And what if you discovered that you are in fact that very genie that could grant them? Well, join us now as we discover who our next genie is as we listen in and learn the stories of triumph, inspiration, and passion with some very special guests. And now, without further delay, your host of the Release the Genie podcast, Mr. Paul Rogers.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in today. I have got a phenomenal guest genie today. Oh my God. This lady is a professional and personal development speaker. She makes the impossible possible. She uses for individuals, businesses, managing stress for health and well-being. A fantastic book, which we'll dive into a bit later, called Beyond Trauma, and a fantastic company, Tragedy to Opportunity. What this lady does is she's willing to be vulnerable, bare her soul, and shares her story to empower others. You're going to want to listen into this because there's going to be more takeaways than the Chinese takeaway, and you're going to love this. So Deborah Stathis, good morning.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning.
It's a pleasure for you to be here all the way. The reason I said good morning, everyone, is that actually Deborah is in the wonderful land of Oz, which means that it's my evening, her morning. So you can see why she looks fresh and I look a little bit tired. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm an author, speaker, coach. My book is behind me. I'm a contributing author in 2 books of inspirational stories, and I've written my first book, Beyond Trauma, Turn Tragedy into Opportunity. I run my business, Tragic Opportunities, and the core of my business is finding opportunity when you think it's impossible and facilitating freedom. And what I mean by that is freedom to be yourself and freedom to recreate and reinvent your life and live your best life. So that's the core of my work, which I do through my workshops and speaking and writings.
That's awesome. And being able to actually twist things so that and find the light in something, that's a very, very rare skill.
Yeah, and I think it's something I developed from my own experience. I've sort of put it on the cover of my book as well. Having had severe injuries and having to, the way I looked at it was, I'm here now. I'm in a position where I needed to, I could give in to tragedy, or I could use it to make myself better. Take the lesson, purposely focus on how I can make myself better and learn and reinvent myself. And I found that quite liberating, that I could positively and authentically reinvent myself. So I took that focus and I've carried that through my life now.
That's amazing. People may call it mindset and all sorts of things, but you then paying that forward to other people, I mean, that's got to feel good.
It does. And I mean, I know what it's like to be overwhelmed with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual pain and suffering and stress and overwhelm. And it's so easily we can get lost and stuck there, fall into victim mentality because it's so much, it's all consuming. And I want to share those tools for people, especially in this current environment, to help them to realize that they have that power. They might not feel it, but they have it. And persistence and resilience is something that they can choose and that they can draw on.
That's absolutely wonderful. And I think you're totally correct that we need more of that and less of the negativity. So I salute and admire that. That's wonderful. Which kind of brings me on to if you could share with us your release the genie moment, your aha moment.
Yes. Well, I released the genie moment when that hit me, I suppose. I had a massive car accident, which I think we'll talk more about later, so I won't go into too much detail about that now. But the short end of it is that I smashed in my face and have an acquired brain injury as part of that accident. And the mirrors in the hospital were covered because I had seen my reflection at one point, and I was very medicated and head injury. And so I have a sort of dream-like memory of it. It's more of a PTSD thing at the moment, to be honest. However, it didn't go down well, put it that way. It was quite traumatic for me to see my reflection. So they covered the mirrors in the hospital. When I went into the rehabilitation centre, the fog was starting to clear with the brain injury, also far less medication. And I was alone in my little room, and there was an uncovered mirror in a little basin in that room. And I'd avoided it initially just because that's just, and I found myself and I thought, look, Deb. So I purposely went over to that little basin where the mirror was, and I was looking down at first, and then I looked up, and I looked hard, and I had a scarf sort of tied over my head because half my head was shaved from the brain surgery and where the pins were put in my forehead, and I had long hair then too, so my long hair sort of laid back behind there, and I looked at my face, and there was cuts and things on my face, but this side of my face in particular was worse. So it was sunken in, depressed, lower, bruising. My eyelid was closed and I couldn't control it. I couldn't open my eyelid. My eye was fixed and dilated, so I couldn't move that either. And there was scarring and bruising and all sorts of things. And I cried, and then I took the scarf off my head and I looked at the scar that runs ear to ear across the top of my head from the surgery and plates that were put in. And it hit me. This happened. This is, you've gone through this. And it was like, and first it was pain and sadness. And then it was, you've done this. Okay, you're here now. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now, Deb? What are you going to do? I can't stay here. How I feel now in this box that I'm in, this small room, and people talking around me and medicine and, obviously to look after me, the best intention, but this is not who I am and this is not who I will be. I will not stay here. So what are you going to do now? And my genie was released there because I realized the power that I had inside me and what I could do.
That is amazing. And I can't tell you how gutsy and brave I think that is to actually to do that. So I completely salute you, and I know the listeners are just you've taken us on a amazing journey already. So thank you very much for that. So I'm dying to know now, what was one of your inspirational mantras to actually help you overcome this sort of stuff? So if you can share that with us, that's going to be like gold.
Yeah, and I have two, which I constantly, that I live by, and one is that, and what I share in a lot of my workshops and speaking as well, is that you have the choice and the power to begin again at any time, to reinvent yourself and your life and create the future that you want.
Amazing.
And I hold on to that as my truth. And the one that I have stuck in my bathroom on my mirror, and I look at it every day, and it's actually written up there on my whiteboard too, is you are bold, brave, courageous, strong, and resilient. So I look at that every day. And if I start to fall down or feel sad or something feels overwhelming, that comes to my mind and I step back into that place. And I remember that I am bold, brave, courageous, strong, and resilient. And that's how I will choose to approach my hurdles.
If you're not already convinced to turn up and go to one of these ladies' seminars and workshops, you need to get a reality check and go and see. This is phenomenal, moving advice. So thank you very much. I'd like, if it's possible, and just, go as best you can, or anything as, I wonder if you're able to tell us just a little bit. And I have a picture which I know is on your book, and I'm going to hold it up if that's okay. If my screen goes all blurry, that's my fault, not yours. Whoop. I don't know if everyone can see, but that is Deb's actual skull and injuries there, which I think is incredibly brave to put that on a book. So again, major kudos for that. So if you can talk us through a little bit of what your big setback was, that would be really appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So, and I touched on it before, my major setback was, and it's interesting, I don't look at it as a setback anymore, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah. However, the major impacting moment and event for me was a car accident that I had, and I was very young. I was 19, and I was driving home on a old slippery wet highway. So it hadn't rained for a week. It was a week to the day after my birthday in summer in Australia. So, the roads get pretty greasy if it hasn't rained for a while in summer. It gets pretty greasy, and then it rains and it gets pretty slippery. So I hit an oil slick on the road, on the highway, right on a bend as well. And from the witness account, I don't actually remember this, but from the witness accounts and from the investigation, of course, the standard procedure here, police investigation, was that it appears as though I fishtailed a bit as I went round. I wasn't speeding or anything, which I'm thankful that I wasn't doing anything stupid. And it appears as though I got scared as a young driver. I got scared, and it appears as though perhaps I put my foot on the brake to try to control it. Again, we can't be too sure, but it certainly looks that way. Either way, I fishtailed, went into the gravel on the side of the road. The back part of my hatch got lifted. The car spun around and bananaed around a telegraph pole on the driver's side in my 1985 Toyota Corolla with no airbags.
No.
Yeah. So the steering wheel was pretty much in the middle of the car with me in there. It strangely didn't break any bones in my body. Lung contusion, collapsed left lung, bleeding in the left lung as well, collapsed left lung, and the impact was, my head, my face. So severe head injury, so multiple breaks and fractures throughout my face, a bit more impact on the right side, but which is the side I put on the cover of my book, but the left side's not far off. It's pretty similar. I broke my lower jaw, upper jaw, the cheekbone, my forehead, my nose, my cheekbone, the upper jaw, and part of the lower jaw there too. So that was fun.
That was fun.
I've got a little bit of a humorous side.
As we were talking before, and actually humor can break a lot of
heavy.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to see example, that one was completely natural there to actually break something with some humor. So again, you can't help but shine through. So I'm going to let you carry on.
The worst break was the skull base, which your brain sits on, and through the sinuses. So that multiple fractures and breaks throughout there, which punctured the layer of membrane around my brain. I had, of course, acquired brain injury, so bruising and swelling and bleeding in the brain, etc. Which was, the prognosis was brain damage, blind in the right eye, and physically not looking like myself. And I'm very proud to say that I beat pretty much every medical odd against me. So grateful for the medical team, grateful for the witnesses who stopped, who happened to be two strong men and a nurse and her daughter, young daughter, who was a qualified resuscitator. The nurse, one of the men leaned in from behind my hatch and held my head while she cleared debris out of my mouth so I could breathe.
I mean,
the nurse, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that is actually what is the impossible to possible and defying the odds. So you carry that through, and anyone who's watching this will just be in disbelief that actually, and thank the Lord you are still here, because I know you've such a great purpose, and it's exciting to see that journey. So I wonder, could you give us an idea of what you're working on now? Because with that type of backdrop, it is just amazing. I'm dying to find out what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm working on a few things, which is great. I've got some exciting collaborations that and we're working on a number of programs. I have a program that we're focusing on, the power of our purpose with a colleague, and I also have this incredible focus on putting together a podcast to empower women as well, really looking at sharing stories of other empowering women to empower women in mind, soul, emotional, spiritual, physical health and well-being. So that's really exciting as well. And what I'm doing sort of by myself, if you will, I'm putting together some programs on focusing on relentless pursuit and embracing change, as I think they're really important right now as well, and they're core of what I do as well. And yeah, really focusing on how I can put those programs out there in a way that can reach a lot of people. And of course, I do bespoke programs, of course, as well. I have a professional background in professional education and training as well, so that's probably business, so that helps too. But it's good that I can put all that together to help people to live their best life personally and professionally, and give them tools to create that life for themselves, and channel their power to recreate themselves and their life.
I mean, when you talk about that, your energy is so high, and so this is more than just a job for you. This is blending passions together. Is that a fair read?
Absolutely a fair read. And it's because I've always been a very driven person for wanting to have education and my own success, I suppose, and that looks different for everybody. But success in my own career as well. And for me, I've witnessed in the rehabilitation centre, and I've witnessed in my corporate background, and I've witnessed in my work now, how stress, trauma, adversity, how that affects people, and how they can get lost in that and give up on themselves because they feel that they have no choice, but they do. And if I can come back from that, and trauma is multifaceted, that's not just one injury, you get better and you're fine. But it took me 10 years and surgeries and procedures before I actually felt comfortable looking at my face. Like more comfortable, and I had immune problems and other illnesses and post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder, and learning that my brain worked differently. However, I had the choice to say, what am I going to do about it? Who can I find to help me? What can I learn? And I want to empower people with that, to channel that mindset, but that skill that they already have.
If that wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen, this lady has also it's got three children? Two children as well. So yeah, that's just a whole different ball game. So
Well, you've got a child too.
that needs an Empower lecture all by itself.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move to the second part of the show, which is the time I get to ask you for my 3 wishes. So are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
number 1, what is the best advice you have received in your life?
The best advice I received in my life was trust yourself.
Love it. Love it.
Simple,
It-
really,
um,
but not simple to do.
to be honest, people overcomplicate things. People, to be honest, the best things are just dead straightforward and simple. So I can see how that's really helped you in your journey and continues to help you as well. So wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, that brings me to my second wish. My second wish is what advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice I give to my younger self is remember that you do not need to fit into a box with the preconceived ideas of what other people think you should be or how you should be or live. It's your life. Live authentically as who you are. Never be ashamed of who you are.
Very liberating, and it just feels great when you say it. I can just feel the sort of the freedom. If I was Mel Gibson now, I'd be doing that, but I'm not going to because that will upset everyone. But no,
Yeah, it's a good visual though. I like it.
no, I mean, wonderful, wonderful advice. And so needed at the moment where people seem to be constantly trying to measure themselves up to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as we let go of that, it's incredible. It's amazing what we actually achieve. We achieve more
Yeah.
because we're focused on someone else or the wrong goal perhaps as well. So
Love it. Love it. Great advice. So I'm 2 for 2 at the moment, and I think I'm kind of ahead. So third wish. I wonder if you could share with us one personal attribute which attributes to your success, one personal habit.
personal habit. Personal habit for me is, well, it's relentless pursuit.
Mm,
Never give up. And another, I suppose, mantra that I live by is choose your power, never give up. And that's it. Choose your power, never give up. So that same focus, like what I said to myself in the mirror in the hospital, I did that relatively recently with COVID. You know, my book had just been released, and I had plans for doing a book and business launch and all sorts of things. Well, that didn't happen, did it? Which was upsetting, of course. You know, COVID hit, and I thought, oh, and I'd come off actually about a 6-year stint of pretty poor health. I had issues with both my pregnancies and some other appendix almost bursting and pneumonia, and anyway, that's a whole other thing. So I went through a bout of poor health as well, and I just persisted. In every moment it was choose your power and never give up. So I couldn't go that way, so I went that way. That was the best way I could describe that. I hope you don't mind. That was the best way
to be honest, that is mostly the cleanest and best way you could possibly describe it. So bravo, I like that. That's that's great. You said so much with that. Well done.
There's more than one way. The path isn't always straight. Keep going and choose. There are so many different ways of doing something. So stay committed to what you want to achieve, but be flexible in your approach. And that's something that, admittedly, you know, I've heard versions of that with, you know, a number of the great mentors around the world that have very similar, that same sort of message. And that's where, you know, I've immersed myself in over the years with incredible motivators, internationally acclaimed motivators and speakers and coaches, because this is where I have then soaked all that up to further empower myself, and I can further empower others as well.
To be honest, and it just reminds me that, you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. So this is as authentic as you could possibly be, because you've been there, you've done that, and you've come back with a message. So very, very powerful. Look, listen, where can we get hold of you? Because I know there's going to be people wanting to talk to you. So tell us where you hang out.
Where I hang out. So I have a website, which is www.tragicopportunities.com. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook as my name, Deborah Stathis, author, speaker, coach on Facebook, or Tragic Opportunities you'll find me that way as well. And same thing on Instagram. And of course, email, straight email is easy, info@tragicopportunities.com. And I'm happy to help anyone with anything that they want help with.
To be honest, just to sum up, and I said at the top of the show, there'd be more takeaways than the Chinese takeaway. You see, I was not an idle threat there. I mean, to be honest, you change people's lives. I think, if anyone has watched this, they will see that actually you're as authentic, you're as pure as possibly. You've been through hell. You found out that hell is somewhere you go and do your R&R. So I love it. I love the direction. I love the passion. And I really hope and would love to see you on the big stage. I think that would be a fantastic place. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure as today's Genie. Did you enjoy yourself?
Absolutely. Always enjoy speaking with you. And yeah, I'm quite happy to be a Genie. I like it.
You can add that to your resume now. So
that's what I've needed.
Well, look, that's a wrap here, ladies and gentlemen. I give you once again a lovely Deborah, and what a story. If that has inspired and moved you, please get in touch with Deborah. And I encourage you now to go and release your Genie and have a wonderful day. So see you next time, everyone.
Well, that's a wrap. You have been listening to yet another episode of the Release the Genie podcast with host Paul Rogers. Be sure to follow Paul on the LinkedIn platform and learn more of Paul's resources at www.takeactionacademy.ca. And until next time, as always, be mindful and be sure to release your Genie. Thanks for listening.